Controversial ENT in the building, guys. I'm back with another one. All right, let me give you an update on what's happening with the cover up. And I call it that because it's exactly what it is. It's a cover up. All right, now let's give you some information of the latest so far. So, point A, right? Conor Benn is not being suspended by the British Board of Boxing. And a lot of you are wondering, why is he not being suspended? And the simple answer is because the British Board of Boxing, strangely, very bizarrely, or shall I say UCAD to be more specific, UCAD do not recognize, so I beg your pardon, the British Board of Boxing do not recognize VADA. They just don't recognize VADA. They recognize UCAD. And because they recognize UCAD and not VADA, they are not prepared to take into consideration, or not, let me say, they are not prepared to suspend Conor Benn based on VADA's findings. This is a very odd thing because what is the point of VADA testing fighters if they're going to be popping fighters for taking certain things, and then the British boards and any other organisation saying, your results don't really matter too much, we're not going to suspend him. That is almost it's almost like an oxymoron, counterproductive type situation. Now, here's what makes that a little bit weirder. So Conor Benn's been told they have forfeited the fight, right? So UK boxing don't want their hands involved in this fight. They've washed their hands with this fight. However, with that being said, Conor Benn is still licensed to fight. That's very confusing. That's very, very confusing, right? Now, when something is that confusing, it either means disorganization or it means corruption. That's just what I'm just putting it out there. Let's move on. Another problem is the fact that Conor Benn's tainted drug sample test or stained drug test, his findings, this occurred over 5 weeks ago. Conor Benn performed that test during the last week of August. The results of which was made public, not public, but it was made known to the necessary parties, including Conor Benn's team, Chris Eubanks Jr.'s team, including, what's his name, Eddie Hearn, including Calais Sowland, including UCAD, including British Boxing Board and whatnot. All of these individuals was made, or organizations was made privy to that information. They sat on that information and did not want that information to come out to the public. This is now common knowledge now. It's not speculation. That they sat on the fact that Conor Benn had a failed drug test and they were all aware of it and they did not want that information to come out. That tells us simply that had it not been for a leak, because that's how the information came out, the information came out through a leak. Somebody leaked that information to the Daily Mail in the United Kingdom. The Daily Mail newspaper got hold of that information and then it runs like wildfire. Which means what? Another sign of corruption and cover-up is what? If the leak had not occurred, tomorrow, Saturday, we would be going to that fight. We would be attending the fight. We'd be watching the fight. That's the bottom line. If the leak had not occurred, the fight would have absolutely happened. The only reason the fight is not happening, really and truly, is because of the leak. Isn't that disgusting display of corruption? It is. And it also shows that in the United Kingdom, we pay no regard to VADA. That is a massive problem because VADA is the most stringent testing that there is out there. It specifically looks for boxers and PEDs and various different type of drugs, whereas UCAD, believe it from what I was told, it searches drugs administered in a wide range of sports, but is nowhere near as stringent as VADA, which is why UCAD doesn't pop much, but VADA do. So if you're saying we're not going to recognize that, first of all, it makes me beg the question that why have it in the first place then? Why allow VADA to test anyone if you're just going to ignore and discard their findings? And two, it shows you to be an incompetent, unprofessional, semi-corrupt organization. Had it not been for the leak, we would not have known this information until maybe post-fight, a couple weeks down the line. That's how these things come out sometimes. There's more. Another issue, the B sample with Conor Benn is quite an issue because when Conor Benn's first A sample was discovered to be tainted with a drug, clomiphene. Why was a B sample not done immediately after? As we speak today, a B sample is still not been done. Not that anyone is aware of. And a B sample has still not been reported on in terms of results. It hasn't been carried out. This is odd. This is weird. This is dodgy. Just to put it out there, A samples and B samples should never ever differ. If you ever get a situation where A sample and the B sample is differing, this is very eyebrow raising. Why? Because it comes from the same, I don't know what you want to call it, I don't know where they pee inside. It comes from the same container of urine, blood, or whatever they've collected. It comes from exactly the same. It's not done on a different day. No. It's not a case of a fighter urinated on a container, had that sent off, B sample time, I do the same thing, I urinate on another, and I said, no, it's not done like that. It's taken from the same source. Again, where is the B sample? Let me ask you guys a question. When did you ever see a B sample even like spoken about? Not spoken about, but revealed to the public? I've never seen B samples revealed to anybody. I remember there was a B sample discussion when it came to Dillian White. I don't remember seeing it. Not that I cared for it, to be very honest with you. I don't believe the public will ever get a B sample. If anything, you'll just hear that it was. I don't even know if you're going to get an update on that, to be very honest with you, right? This is another dodgy thing, another corrupt thing, another cover-up thing in this Conor Benn situation. What is the problem here, though? You see, the difference is the attitude in the United Kingdom is very different to the attitude in the United States. Though both countries are Western countries, they have very different attitude. Here in the UK, there's something called integrity, and the British public are very serious about that. Regardless of how much they might like a fighter, if the British public feel that you are bringing, let me use a big word, if they feel you are besmirching the sport, or you are bringing disrepute to the sport, you are staining the sport through bad conduct and bad practice, the British public will not respect it. They will not appreciate it. Because in their eyes, they feel like you are destroying, I repeat, destroying the sport that they love. This is the British public's attitude. Believe it or not, one reason why you saw Eddie Hearn, I believe it was today, where he did his little interview with Oladepe, I believe his name is, correct me, excuse me if I got it wrong, is because Eddie started feeling the heat. And the heat is definitely going to be on Eddie Hearn because his actions they've not been consistent with the things he has said in the past about the sport remaining clean. You see, in this country here in the United Kingdom, people care about keeping boxing clean. It's important here. In the States, there's a lot more leeway, a lot more people get away with a lot more stuff. In the United Kingdom, especially with this fight here, this fight had captivated a lot of people already because of the history that's in this fight. Chris Eubank and Conor Benn, the fathers, their fight in the United Kingdom is probably the biggest fight in the United Kingdom that had ever taken place, all right? So their sons fighting, a lot of people were emotionally connected to that and they wanted to see that. And make no mistake, it's going to be a massive fight in this country. So now that they feel that you're muddying the waters, people are not happy about that. And on top of that, you're pouring filth to the sport. It's not a good look. There's a lot of cleanup that needs to be done and a lot of answers that need to be given. I want to conclude by saying this, and I'm taking this from Deontay Wilder because he was 100% correct. And I'm even going to use the American accent to say it. And I want everyone in the United Kingdom to open their ears and listen to what I'm about to say now. And even in the States and everywhere else, anyone who likes boxing, listen to this sentence. Listen to this sentence well. Boxing is not a sport. It's a business. Quote Deontay Wilder. Boxing really isn't a sport. I want you to understand that it's not a sport. It's a business. 100% business. It's not a sport. I know you're seeing guys in the ring punch each other and there's a victor, there's belts, but boxing is not your traditional sport. It's not. It's a business. It's a business. The business of boxing dictates the actual event. Therefore, for me, boxing cannot be classed as a sport. Why? Because if it was a sport, none of the things that have occurred in this Eubank Ben situation could have ever been allowed to occur. Ever. Only in boxing can you get things such as those, because boxing isn't actually a sport, believe it or not. It's a business. It's a business that has an activity attached to it, and the activity is competitive between two contenders. So it looks like a sport. But that's why boxing doesn't get received the way other sports do. That's why boxing will never reach the levels of a football, or shall I say soccer, that we have here, which is one of the biggest sports. It will never reach the levels of a golf. It will never reach the levels of a tennis. It will never reach the levels of an NBA basketball. It will never reach the levels of a Super Bowl. Ever. Because it's just not a sport like those sports are. Boxing is a business, and a crooked one at that. It's not honest men that work in this sector, I'm afraid to say. It's men that are looking at for their pockets, men that are looking at for their self-interest. This is why you get situations where guys like Dillian White could go God knows how many hundreds and thousands of days without getting a title shot when that was the case. This is why you get situations where the best fights don't always occur. This is why you get situations where guys like Floyd Mayweather wants to monopolize who fights who and who fights where and who doesn't do better than him, etc., etc. Because boxing's a business. This is why you get guys like Al Heyman, who is so, what's the word? It's such an enigma. This can only happen in boxing. You couldn't get an Al Heyman in any other sport, really and truly. It's crazy, but this is why you get Leonard Ellerby saying if they see Eddie Hearn, they want to do him harm. Only in boxing can you get stuff like that. Because boxing isn't a sport, guys. It's really not. It's a business. And the quicker people understand that, British public included, fighters included, the quicker people understand that, the better it is for them. And this is why I tell fighters, look after your own interests and demand the money that you believe you are worth. Because this sport is brutal. It's brutal. As Chris Eubank Jr. would have found out had he got in the ring against Conor Benn Saturday. Controversial ENT, that's what I got to say about it. Let me see your comments down below because I'm curious to know what you lot think about it. And I'm going to be staying on top of this whole cover up because that's exactly what it is. And I'm waiting to hear more. I want Eddie Hearn to be questioned a bit more. Allow for journalists to actually question you, yeah? Allow for media personnel to actually question you. I want to shout out to Calais Sowland because he was the first one that I saw that came on TalkSport and had a little chat about it. And I think Eddie tried to follow in his footsteps because he started feeling the heat. And Controversial ENT, you know how we go. We are going to be on their necks with this. Conor Benn, stop getting your dad to come and do videos because, yeah, Nigel Bench has done a video trying to say, oh, he's in shock. He doesn't know what's happened. Conor's training really hard. The training went really well. We don't care about that now. We want to know, Conor, come out and tell us what happened with the whole cheating situation. What happened with the whole drug situation? Come out and tell us what it is. And Conor, let me just give you one last warning, yeah? Because you're not a bad person. I don't particularly hate Conor Benn or anything like that. I actually think it's entertaining. But Conor, I'm going to give you one little piece of advice. If you don't, I mean, you're very young. But if you ain't learned nothing, learn from Dwayne Chambers. When he started speaking honestly about what happened, that is when he was forgiven. The more he kept up the lie that his lawyers and whatnot were telling him, the more he angered the British public, the more the British public did not want to include him in certain races, the harder he found it. Conor Benn, don't come out and say, oh, I accidentally took this, I don't know where it came from, I wanted to start a more, I wanted to have, enlarge my family, have more kids, and I used it as a family planning. If you come out with that, Conor, you might as well just stay under the rock that you're hiding in right now, because you are hiding, make no mistake about it. And for those of you who don't know, yeah, I've spoken to a few people that I know in the United Kingdom over here in London, right? I don't live too far from Essex myself, to be very honest with you. I live in the border of both London and Essex, right? So I'm getting information which is not validated. It's not valid information, but I'll tell you what they're saying anyway on the grapevine. Conor's had an earful. Conor's had an earful. That's what they're saying on the grapevine. Conor's had an earful. Now he's getting his dad to speak up for him. No, speak for yourself. You're a grown man. You was going to get in the ring. You was going to do damage to Chris Eubank Jr. So why can't you talk and open your mouth now? Why can't you speak now? Forget what they told you. Come and tell the truth and admit what you've done so that the public could just be over this already. All right? Controversial ENT, I'm signing out, guys. Peace out.